Good evening and welcome to the program. Just about to go live here in a second from the studio here. This is beginning to grow on me, this studio. I've been working on one in the back, but kind of like it here. If you can see out this window, it's night now. That's the beautiful St. Andrews Bay here in Panama City. But anyway, yeah, we're here. We're going to have in just a moment, we'll have Tony Barnhart joining the program with us. We've got a good night for you. As I said, unfortunately, this is a time where some of the most encouraging things have happened to Florida in a long time. A couple of hiccups on things that have not gone Florida's way in recent hours. We'll tell you about that. But mainly, I'm looking forward to my friend Tony Barnhart, who's always has something to share. And I've got his book. Came in today. I started it today. Finally got it. And you want to know more about it. And we'll talk about how much the game has changed for the better or worse, and what's ahead, for goodness sake, for this crazy year of college football. All right here on the Buddy Martin Show, followed by David Molton. We'll have our student intern, Prince Kyle Curtis, will be joining us, talking about the Jaden Rashada incident, and we'll hear again from Paul Finebaum, who dropped by yesterday. All that coming your way tonight, right here on the Buddy Martin Show. Tell your friends and neighbors we're on the show right now. Come join us.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. It's called the Buddy Martin Show for that reason. We're with you 4 nights a week and sometimes longer and more. And tonight we're always glad to welcome in an old friend to talk ball and talk about his new book and the state of things to come. More news, of course, this week with the Jaden Rashada incident. What does it mean? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some people think not so much. Others think differently. And other news in college football, like settlements and money. I'm so bored with policy and all that stuff. But when I get to talk to Tony Barnhart, he humanizes it. So let's bring him on board now to the Orange and Blue Room. My good friend from the state of Georgia, Tony Barnhart. What's up, Tone?
Buddy, I love your introduction to your show. It's got a certain vibe to it, like 2 old newspaper men. I think we can appreciate it. So.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, you know. And matter of fact, recently, and not drifting into nostalgia too much, I just been thinking about some of the things that, the basics of where we started out, why we started out, what we did, why we got in this business, and thinking, you know what, this is not like rocket science or oral surgery. This is a good thing. And lately, it's been like pulling eye teeth. It seems like. And so I'm endeavoring to get back to the good stuff. That's what I want to do. And call it what you want to, sunshine pumpers, whatever you want to call it. There's no reason why we can't tell good stories and have good things to say and have fun and talk about the things we love, which you do, by the way, in this book, which I did finally get today. There it is. There it is.
Thank you, buddy.
19
Thank you, buddy.
Green, Tony
19
Barnhart.
Green. I've done 6 books, and this by far was the most gratifying. And so I appreciate you picking it up. And it's quite a story.
I didn't know it would be here in time today or not, but I've thought I'd ordered it before, apparently not, moving back and forth. But yeah, I want to get into that book a little bit, into the basics of why we do this. You know, as you played ball in Greene County and you met friends and you began writing about college football and whatever, and you've had a consummate career in this business as Mr. College Football. And I've bounced around in and out of college football, covering other things, but always held it near and dear to my heart. And now in the sunset years, I'm enjoying it a lot, even though there's a lot of interference out there, Tony. A lot of people want to get our minds off the joy of college football.
Well, and I try to tell people, because everywhere I go, I've played in a number of charity events the last 2 or 3 weeks, and everybody comes up to me and says, "What in the world are we going to do about college football?" I said, one word: relax. Just relax. We're at a time right now because there are no games being played. Coach Spurrier used to talk about talking season, and when the stuff you have to talk about is not a lot of fun, then people think the world's coming to an end. The fact of the matter is, we're going to have at least another year of NIL and portal and all that stuff, because it's where we are right now. We're between court cases, so it's gonna have it one more year, and I think there will be some sort of break. I don't know if it's an antitrust exemption or a revenue sharing model like has been proposed in the settlement in the Houston case. Well, I don't know, but the bottom line, buddy, you and I talked about this. Once the games start, nobody cares about any of this. They don't want to talk about it. They don't care. They don't care where the players are getting their money or who's getting what. They don't care. Once the game starts, until the game starts, that's all we've got to talk about is all this other stuff.
It does. It does reflect poorly on the game, and I'm sorry for that. But I've got a little plan I'll tell you about later. And I was inspired by the story of the Traveling Wilburys, who
Mm-hmm.
have that fabulous group, all-time great pickup band, and as you know, with a great talent in it, and how they wound up doing it, and they did it for the joy of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking for the joy of the game again, not finding a lot of that. And here's the thing about it: the fans are too. There's always going to be a certain percentage of snipers and gripers and what you want to call them, and let them have their day. That's always been part of the game. But don't let it destroy the core value of what this is about, which is the great game of college football, Tony, which, as you know, you've been in all your life, and all the great things that have happened and can still happen, and don't give up hope. But having said that, just about the time I talked myself into being in a positive mood and thinking, okay, if things are going better in Gainesville and I'm liking what I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing and seeing and thinking, up jumps the Jaden Rashada story.
Yep.
Now, I'm
Yep.
gonna stop right there because I have opinions about it and ask you your take on it, what you know about it, at the risk of putting everybody to sleep. Now we're talking about it again, but is it damaging to Florida? And is it something that will go away? And how much, if at all, will it affect the Florida football team on the field this year?
I don't think it has any effect whatsoever. I think this is a situation where it was there's a certain learning curve, buddy. Once you put in new rules, once you have the NIL, once you have the transfer portal, there's a learning curve, and everybody's got to learn what the lessons are. And so I don't even know who made the offer to the kid from Florida, former player Rashada, but that's something you got to learn. Hey, if you're on the receiving end of one of these wonderful offers, you better make darn sure, you and your family, you and your representative, you better make darn sure the money exists before you make any kind of commitment, verbal or otherwise. How could you just, did you have a contract that said you would make this? No, there was no contract. At least to the best of my knowledge, there was no. So you better learn going. You better go in there with your eyes wide open. And if that person can't guarantee that payment, then you need to be very, very careful. But as far as affecting the game, I don't. I mean, the guy is obviously a good player. He was recruited by Florida. Is now at Georgia. So the guy must be a good player. But again, I think people get all worked up about this stuff when the fact of the matter is when we get to the point where we're playing games again, people are simply not going to talk about this.
Yeah. Okay. We're not going to talk about it that much tonight either. What
Mm-hmm.
you're saying is pretty much what I'm hearing from all my sources and all the people on this show is they think it's just the other shoe and they expected it to happen. All part of doing business today. And it all matters not if Billy wins 8 games or whatever. So that's
Right.
not going to mess. I'm going to say pay the money and go on. But anyway, having said all of that, there is a couple of things I haven't talked about with you. Nick Saban. I mean, I said on the Finebaum show the other day, or at least with Finebaum on my show, I'm grateful for Nick Saban, what he
Oh,
did to elevate the game of college football, to make it such a great thrill to watch his teams play, to be dominant, to raise the bar, and all the stuff he did. And I think he did it with good thoughts in mind of helping players. I read today where he started a new thing to help advance the careers of former Alabama players. And I think
all right.
Nick's heart is with his players. I just want to say, I think he'll be terrific on TV. I think the game will miss him. How much, Tony?
They'll miss him a lot. Obviously, once the games are played, and it depends on how things go at Alabama. But the fact of the matter is, I am very grateful for Nick Saban. Obviously, I met him when he was at LSU. I met him for the first time, and to I've done this. You and I've done this all of our lives, and the fact that we came along and we were able to see Nick Saban's entire coaching career happened
Privilege,
in our
great
in our lifetime.
privilege, great
It's
privilege.
just a tremendous privilege to watch the best do the best. And at the end, there used to be a debate on who the greatest coach of all time was. There's no debate on that now. It's Nick Saban. And we thought nobody would ever replace Bear Bryant on top of the mountaintop in Tuscaloosa, but he did. And we will look back. We knew Nick Saban was great. We knew he was the greatest of all time. But as time passes on, buddy, we're going to say, man, weren't we lucky
Mm.
that we got to cover this guy for his entire career?
Absolutely. And I was really lucky to be able to have Spurrier and Meyer at Florida to cover them. It was
Mm-hmm.
terrific. And it just hit me again on Friday night. I don't know why it did. And I know Steve hated it. But there was an event on Friday night for scholar athletes where a lot of great players, high school players, were there from around the area. And Steve talked, and they must have been stuck for somebody to put on the microphone. And I came up. And I stood there in the days, looked down at him. I thought to myself, I'm in the champions room of the Swamp. I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
how many of these young people really don't know that much about Steve Spurrier? And quite a few don't. And then it struck me to say, I know you're going to hate this, Steve, but to be standing here in this spot, in this stadium named after you, where
Mm-hmm.
you played and coached Florida to its first SEC championship, national championship, and the fact that you're here now with the restaurant, I said, I feel so privileged to have known you and to be able to work with you. And I just want to say how grateful I am. I know I was gushing, I don't care. But I just thought to myself, you know, if you were standing next to Saban or Kirby or whatever, you might say the same things. There's nothing wrong once in a while with a personal comment. Now, does Steve and I have differences? Yeah, we did. We still do sometimes. Did I agree with everything Steve did? No. But the achievement, the accomplishment, what he did, and you can make a case for it being one of the great coaching jobs in America. And you know the situation when he came in 1990, what he did is really amazing and something I'm really privileged to have been a part of.
Well, the real neat thing for me and Coach Spurrier, I met Steve Spurrier when he was the offensive coordinator for Red Wilson at Duke.
Yeah,
That's when I met him for
glad
the
to
first
be.
time.
Yeah, glad to
Yeah.
be.
And then he went there to the Tampa Bay Bandits and on, and then, of course, came back to Duke and won an ACC championship, which was incredible. And then, of course, went to Florida. The fact that I was able to watch his entire career. And I will always, somebody asked me this about Coach Spurrier the other day. He said, what do you think Spurrier's greatest accomplishment was? He won 6 national championships, 7, if you ask him, a
So
national
SEC,
championship,
SEC
SEC
champions.
championship, and a national championship, and won all those games. I said, and although that was great, it was amazing. But to me, in my mind, the greatest thing he ever did was he completely reversed the psychological mindset of the Florida Georgia game.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
when he got there, they were trying to get him to move the game out of Jacksonville because there was too much of an advantage for Georgia. And Spurrier reacted exactly as you should. What are you talking about? We're playing in a stadium that's named after the Gators, an hour and 15 minutes from our campus. All we got to do is get better players and coach them up better. And guess what he did? He got players and he coached them up better.
That was either as great as an accomplishment or marrying Jerry. I'm not sure. Marrying Jerry might have been just as big of
No. Jerry was his number one move. There's no doubt in that.
no doubt about that. What a great
You
thing.
talk about a guy who outkicked his coverage. Well,
Oh,
we all have,
oh
but
my
Steve
gosh.
Spurrier outkicked his coverage by a
He's
long way,
beautiful. He's
and he
beautiful.
knows it. And he knows it.
Great to see her last week as well. All right, Tony. Before we get to the nuts and bolts of things here, we got here a guy David Molton joining us in a moment to chat about the Rashada thing and other things. Let's talk about this wonderful book. And I did a similar book, not like this, when I did one of my Gator books, talk about my hometown and what it was like going back. And you talked about you and your friend going meeting and going back to the school, the building, all the
Yep.
things. And you said this in your 6 books. This was the most rewarding one. And the thing about it is, it's such an important story for some people who don't understand the times you were in. I didn't go through this because when I was there, my schools were still 100% segregated. But in
Right.
your time, things were schools were beginning to be um, displaced and melded together and molded together. And your high school, the 2 high schools, the black school and the white school, which happened in my hometown later,
Right.
it was a total culture shock for a lot of people, and it could have gone sideways for a lot of people. And you had some
Well,
conversations, a very honest conversation about growing up there when we saw black people in service jobs, and
right.
you said yes sir once to a black man. Your dad didn't think that was very cool, and I
No,
had
he
the
didn't.
same thing happen to me. I mean, I was
Right.
living in Columbia, South Carolina, went down the street a few blocks and found a young African American boy playing marbles, and I went and played marbles for a couple hours. My mom
And
came
you
down and got me and said, don't you ever go down there again. I said, why? He's a great guy.
you didn't know, and I didn't
Oh,
know that we
oh,
were supposed to hate black people, or not,
yeah,
or certainly not socialize with them. We
right,
were,
not yeah, right,
and we had to learn that.
yeah.
And but the book is about the night in the fall of 1970. I was a senior at Greene County High School, Greenee, named after Nathaniel Greene, one of Washington's favorite generals. And Greene County High School was the school. And in the fall, schools were completely segregated. In the fall of 1970, the courts ruled that Greene County High School and Floyd T. Carey High School, the black school, would merge completely. No ifs, ands, or buts. Merging the schools meant to us, we get to merge the football team. And we were those of us who played football were so excited. Man, we're going to merge these 2 schools. We're going to have 60 or 70 guys on our team. We're going to be great. When spring practice ended, we had spring practice in April before the fall. When spring practice was over, we had 19 players. And that's the term. That's why it's the 19 of Greene, for the 19 players we had. And there were a lot of people, buddy, who did not want us to succeed. There were a lot of people who thought we couldn't succeed, that
Mm-hmm.
black people and white people couldn't get along well enough. And the fact of the matter is we bonded as a team. We started 0-2, then won 7 out of our last games to make the playoffs and play for our championship. But the book is really not about football. It's about the fact that 50 years after we played our last game together, Charles Turner, the African American quarterback from Floyd T. Carey High School, phenomenal athlete and a great human being. 52 years after we played our last game together, we are still the very best of friends. As a matter of fact, last week we had our charity golf tournament to benefit Honduras Outreach. Charles Turner was there. Monday, Charles Turner had his golf benefit to benefit the City of Athens Sports Hall of Fame, and I was there for his golf tournament.
Nice.
And we all stay in touch. We had a signing at our old high school, Greene County High School, in December. Had over 75 people, sold all the books. And the neatest thing, and I will never forget this, buddy, when you go through the book, you'll notice that each of the 19 players has his own chapter, his own background of
Mhm.
what happened to him. And what we did was we got a bunch of long tables and put them together with name tags. And 9 of the 16 living players were able to make it, and everybody got to sign their own book. Their own people would come by and get the signature, and and I had a chance to have my teammates be a part of that book signing.
That's cool.
All 9 of them, and it was a cool, really cool moment that I will never forget.
What a wonderful experience that was, and a good way to share it and a good way to do it. And so, thank you for doing that for all of us and keeping that in perspective. And I know some of these people roll their eyes, say, "Oh, these old guys are talking about the old days again." But there were some things that significant that happened, and thank you for keeping some of those stories alive. Getting back to, by the way, you can get yours at Amazon. I got mine. It came. I didn't think I'd have it in time. I'm about 25 pages into it. I'll be digging back into it tonight. Look forward to reading. Tony's written some great books. If you haven't seen him before, he's kind of the voice of college football. Has been for years. Nobody knows the SEC more than Tony. Not just the SEC. He works at CBS on the college football show and covered the whole country, but he specializes in the SEC. Let's get down to a couple of quick things here about this idea of embracing our own personal affection for college football. You can still love the game. You can still embrace even your school if you want to. You can still like coaches. Tony, you and I grew up liking coaches. We
Mm-hmm.
grew up around them for the most part. Most of them I've really liked a lot. And I had talked to a couple of my friends on this show about this. It seems like we are getting pushed and pushing others out away from the joy of college football when we should be really embracing it once in a while. And I'm going to enlist you to become a member of this group, which I started this week. I've already got 5 people, including Shane Matthews and a few others. And I liken it to the Traveling Wilburys. The Traveling Wilburys, as you know, were a super group. You might even be able to name them, but certainly everybody knows Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, George Harrison, and Jeff Lynne. They might not know. But they got together and started recording for the fun of it. No one even knew what they were doing. And all this great music surfaced out of this. And man, some of the best you've ever heard. And they did it for the love of the music. So, what's wrong with doing things for the love of what you're in? I mean, college football. So, I'm thinking, let's just go ahead and own up to it and say, well, we are. I'm soliciting memberships for the Great American College Football Sunshine Pumpers Society. Okay.
I like it.
Okay. Are you
I
in to
like
go
it. Sign.
join?
I'm in. Sign me up.
All right. Here you go. So we can now openly gush about the game that we love so much. And even those down years and the bad years, it's been terrific. And I love that thought. Before I joined David Molton, there are many other things that can bother us and hurt, and negativity is the thing that we complain about. The fans complain about. They hate us in the media sometimes. I've been called a troublemaker and a Gator hater and everything else, just like you have with the Bulldogs, whatever. But it is what it is. It's knowing your heart and knowing them knowing your heart. But there's a couple of things happening now in sports in general. Let's just bring David Molton in here, let him hear this too, because there's some things aside from the court cases. Good evening, David, and things that are going on. But this struck me. I've been watching. I like to watch a little baseball for fun. I don't really write about it. And Michael Wilbon made a comment which I thought nailed one of the more new things again. He says Major League Baseball's exit velocity tracking has started the ruination of watching sports. Everything is how fast, how far, how many miles an hour it went, whatever.
Mhm.
So many stats. I don't know about you, but I haven't got room for any more stats. How about you?
I don't. I don't think, particularly in baseball. Baseball's got way too many stats. I like the new. I don't watch a lot of baseball, but I enjoy the nuance of the game. Do you bunt the guy over here, or do you let him swing away? Things like that. I enjoy the game inside the game. But so the guy hit the home run 489 feet, and 485 was the record, or something like. Really? I mean, okay. So do you get more runs because you hit it 480? No, you don't. So I think our baseball buddies. Well, I guess you got to get hung up with numbers because you have to go to the ballpark every doggone day almost. And I guess that's how you keep yourself fired up, is the numbers.
I think there are some things that are interesting to hear, like somebody hit a ball, hit it 545 feet. The exit velocity was 145 miles an hour, or whatever that was, and you can relate to that. But I don't think on every home run. I don't know. That's just one small. And then the final thing is that pertains.
If I could just throw one
Sure.
thing in, because
Yeah.
I have a question for both you and Tony. Tony, you've been a part of many a network broadcast. In recent years, along those lines, in college football, what's been discussed is, should we show how fast someone is running? You know, they
Yeah.
reach 21 miles an hour. Should
Mhm.
we show the miles per hour as to how hard they throw the ball? I mean, I know with SEC on CBS anyway, Tony, in the last 3 years, that's been kicked around. We've never done it live. There were a couple times over the years. I remember we showed on tape a few minutes later. We were able to put something together and showed that somebody's top speed was 21 something miles per hour. But, Tony, I don't sense the college football fan is screaming for more stats and more analytics and more information.
No, they're not screaming for more stats and more analytics, David, because the college football fan is a very savvy individual when it comes to the game. He wants to know. He just watched Florida run the ball 6 consecutive times. Now explain that to me. Why did you do that? What is he
Right.
thinking here? Is he going to make a change at a position? Is he going to, I think they're more interested in what the way the game is, how it played, and don't get really bogged down in the stats. Now, if a guy's throwing for 400 yards, okay, I got you. But I'm saying that's not, to me, that is not the mindset of the college football fans. They want you, as the person who's analyzing the game, tell me what's going to happen and tell me why it's going to happen. And then after it
And I
happens, tell me what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, but buddy, for whatever reason, the network executives in the last couple of years have come to the conclusion that the baseball fan wants to see all that stuff. When we've kicked it around in college football, we've almost always opted not to flood the screen with any more traffic.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I could see if there was a case, let's say Deion Sanders was playing again or whatever, and he picked off the ball and outran everybody, and the guy behind him, he was running 3/10 of a second faster than the guy. I don't know. I guess you could use it in that manner. And
Well,
I have no doubt that one day they'll be there, but I hope it's not soon.
Well, and I guess there are certain famous plays where it would have been handy. Like, you got to go back to 2010. Auburn played LSU in mid-October. They were both unbeaten, and I forget, was it Patrick Peterson who's coming up on Cam, and they're near midfield at about the 40, and Cam kicks it into another gear.
Yeah.
And pulls away from Patrick Peterson. And it ended up being one of probably his 3 best highlights of the year in a Heisman Trophy winning season. It probably would have been cool 10 minutes later to show just how fast he was running. But I don't get the sense that it's something that the college football fan is craving.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it'd have been interesting to see, they want to say, hey, look where he put he put his hand to the ground to give himself balance to keep that run going. Okay.
Yes.
And you talk about, there's not that many guys who can even make that play or have the presence of mind to make that play, to put it. Used to be, when I played a million years ago, that was a standard part of a drill. You would run, and then when you stumble, you'd put your hand down to keep the balance. That's the kind of insight that I think college football fans want.
Yeah. 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 So here's one for you, Tony. Actually, more so for David in this regard. I see now, I just read this today. I don't know if anybody cares or not, but apparently now there's going to be college football on Fox every Friday night. What will that do
Now,
to the game?
well, Fox, my understanding is Fox made this decision because they used to have wrestling on Friday night and they lost the rights to it. I don't know where it went. I have to admit, I don't watch. Okay,
Yeah.
but they were airing wrestling live on Friday. And so instead of producing a couple of 1 hour dramas, which are expensive and very few people are watching anymore, they said, well, why don't we just go sports? We've already paid for the programming. Why don't we just give it a higher profile? And so, and now that they've got, more teams than ever in the Big Ten, the bit more teams than ever in the Big 12, and they've got the rights to it, they said, hey, we can put together a pretty decent Friday night package. And Tony, I have to admit, I know none of the schools in the Big Ten are interested in it, but if you're in the Big 12, this is a chance to get a window that you're going to struggle to get here in the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right, David. Is that there are two different ways of looking at this Friday night window. One is that it gives an opportunity, because between the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC, most of the windows are taken, and it's hard to find one. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way to look at it is the way that I look at it, is it's not good for high school football,
No.
and that's where our loyalty should be, is protecting high school football. And I don't, Big 12 is going to be fine. But we've got to do everything we can. And we're going through a period right now where high school football is, except for the places we've all heard of, there're just not as many young people playing football. And my friends at the National Football Foundation have studied this issue and trying to come up with some concrete ideas of what to do about it. But no, I don't like anything that's going to hurt high school football.
And also with what's gone on in recent years post the pandemic, there's less scholarships being offered to high school kids than ever before. The colleges are all just, re-recruiting the older player. Why spend time developing the 18-year-old when we can grab the 20 and 21-year-olds who are already developed? So, Tony, I'm with you, maybe I don't know, maybe a few Big 12 programs that'll help. But, who was the Big 10 coach? Was it last year or the year before, who basically was like, if I could forfeit the game, I would. That's how much I don't want to be playing on Friday nights and upsetting high school football.
Yeah.
I think it was the Indiana coach.
I think you're right about that. I think you're right. And most coaches feel that way because they know they're – but here's the thing. You mentioned, David, the when we went through the period where COVID and what happened there is what has happened is fewer high school players are getting recruited now, and coaches are saying you summed it up just right. Is why should I sign an 18-year-old guy when I could sign a 20-year-old guy with 2 years of experience? So as a result, there are fewer scholarships at the highest level, and a lot more guys are having to drop down to another level. They thought they would be an FBS player, and now they're dropping down to FCS or dropping down to 1AA or Division II.
I think we're at that stage in college football where be careful what you ask for. The old cliche is true. We got the 12-team playoff. I've been fighting for a playoff, as you know, Tony, for 30 years. Now we got one with 12 teams, which sounds on the surface like a good thing. But yet, look at how it's wrecked the conferences. Look at what's happened to the game in terms of money. The things like Friday night football games are about money, just like the NIL deals are about money. The college programs are about money. There has to be some basics somewhere that we have to go back to. And I'll just refer to this one more time. I happened to have been at an event on Friday night up in Gainesville, a scholar athlete for the 6 or 7 county area for the Meldon TV20. And they had all the 25-year celebration of scholar athletes. Now, we know the term student athlete, and sometimes it's a cliche and it's a ho-hum, but these were kids who were the cream of the crop. And you're talking about a bunch of kids that were, male, female, black, white, going to Penn State, going to the Big Ten, going to the SEC, and these academic records were off the joint. You're talking kids with almost perfect 5.0s, and perfect ACT scores, and they were great athletes, and they were great citizens. And as Spurrier made the comment that it was a kind of a salute to the parents to be able to get kids like this to be that great at what they do academically and athletically. And as I wrote in my column, it's in a way more important than an NIL deal to have your son, like Ernest Graham's son was, Miles, standing up there as the male athlete of the scholar athlete, and the accolades that he got, the way he performed, and what he's done has been amazing. And Ernest and his wife Alicia, were just beaming. I thought, no amount of money can make them feel any prouder right now of their son than they are. So those kinds of intrinsic values, I know it sounds old fashioned and stupid because people say it's about the money. I hope somewhere there's going to be room for that.
Well, I hope so too. And the fact of the matter is when I go to functions like that as well. SEC has their annual awards banquet on Thursday night in Destin. They'll be coming up next week. And every school has a scholar athlete, both male and female, and then they give scholarships to a male and female scholar athlete of the year, 25,000 each. And you're looking at these young people. There was last year when I went to, there was a swimmer who had like perfect grades, and he got up and spoke, and you just said, people worry about the future. If these young people, when you meet them, you feel very good about the future.
Yeah, true. Very good. Tony, thank you. I've kept you too long. I appreciate it. Once again, let me just say, this is the book. I bought mine today, The 19 of Green. Tony lived this experience, and I didn't tell you this, but my family history supposedly was in the county courthouse of Greene County, Georgia. And I went on a roots research for it years ago, and they said that the courthouse burned down, and it burned down with it. I didn't know that. So I have folks from all up that area. But terrific job. I've started reading it tonight. I'll finish it probably next day. Thank you, Tony, for writing it. Thank you for being on the program, and we'll catch up to you soon. You've got Destin coming up in a couple of weeks, so we'll talk to you then. All right. Thank you.
It's good to be with you guys. David, always good to see you. Take care.
Tony, great to see you. All the best.
The great Tony Barnhart. And David, I saved a couple little goodies for you that I want to talk about. But first, I got to tell people that our sponsors are paying for this. And among them is our friends at Meldon Law. And Meldon Law, of course, I just talked about the event that they're doing, and they do every year. Meldon Law is involved at the University of Florida in a big way. They're the official injury law firm for the University of Florida. They have giveaways all the time on their Facebook page for tickets. They're big NIL supporters, and Jeffrey Meldon, of course, is as big a Gator as there is. So we appreciate their support of this program. Meldon Law, they won't back down. All right, so I'm looking at this story and thinking this has got David written all over it. Have you seen the latest story on Rory McIlroy's wife? He's divorced, and
right. I guess the papers got filed 2 Mondays ago, right?
Yeah, and then the story says, according to reports, Erica Stoll, the estranged wife of superstar Rory McIlroy, reached a breaking point in the couple's 7-year marriage. Divorce papers filed last week. What do you think that was about? And the reason I said that is this is the kind of pressures that people don't understand are all these guys and women. And the situation with the LIV, and now it's become quite a can of worms as far as I can tell, David. But it was a terrific golf tournament. I loved watching them play. But it makes me kind of feel sick in my stomach that this is what's happened. The price these guys are paying is really dear.
Well, I don't think I mean, I haven't heard that the whole Rory's involvement in the PGA Tour LIV situation, supposedly in those same papers, she just said that once we had the kid, that, we started spending a lot more time apart. I was staying home with the kid while he's pretty busy, and it just led to a divide in the relationship. What I find interesting, buddy, is in the last 2 days, Padraig Harrington, who's been very anti-LIV, has said, you know what? I missed Bryson DeChambeau. I even missed Patrick Reed. It was nice to see them out there, and we really need. Yeah, he did. He chuckled. He said, "I missed Patrick Reed, and that we need to we really need to do this. Jordan Spieth was interviewed today, and Jordan said, actually, guys, I know there's been a lot of negative reports about, the divide and what have you. I think we're moving closer than ever before to,
Yeah.
Getting this resolved. And,
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan, who's supposedly one of the three guys along with Cantlay and Tiger who made sure that Rory couldn't return to the board, Jordan sounded as positive as he has during this whole dispute today at a presser. So, we'll see. I think even the guys on the PGA Tour who hate the thought of the LIV and are angry at the golfers who went, I think they know that this separation's not working, and they need to come up with a solution. And the solution should be that both tours can coexist. And if those who just want to play the quote PGA Tour and play in the States and the majors, they can do so. And those that want to be a worldwide brand and play around the world and play a few PGA Tour events in the majors, they should be able to do that too. Okay.
Yeah,
and my guess is that they'll figure it out.
Right. I heard the interviews they did at the PGA, and Tiger said, "What you're hearing here is not what I'm hearing, and that we're a lot closer than you think we are." And that's what, in a way, what Spieth was saying. We see things happening, but clearly, it is kind of sad to see. As a fan of golf, I know you're one too, to see kind of something was built up all these years, and such a great thing. It was kind of been destroyed. Once again, one of the institutions going down because of money.
Well, but it could be put back together, though. I mean,
You
it really
think?
can.
Yeah.
I do. The golfers haven't, quit. The golfers haven't retired. The tournaments haven't folded. Okay, this can be put back together. In fact, there's more money on the table now than there's ever been, coming from two sides. So there's no reason they can't sit down and work this out. The only ego and stubbornness will be the only reason that they don't work this out, buddy. I mean, there's never been more ingredients in the pie to divvy up. Why can't they divvy it up?
I don't know. I don't understand those high price negotiations, but let's hope for the best. I want to say, David, that you inspired me last week when we talked.
Whoa.
And I wrote a column. I don't know if you saw it or not. I said to you last week, let's get you on to my new organization called College Football's Great American Sunshine Bumper Society. Which
Right.
it's okay to be, is that I said to you, David, what would you write if you were a columnist, which you were 3 times a week for the Fort Myers News Press? And you said, well, I don't know. I said, no, give me an idea, will you? And you laid it out there. You said, well, I might say, listen up to me on something I want to tell you about, folks. There's something going on in Gainesville you ought to know about. Billy Napier is, and you said you put a positive spin on it, and you kind of laid out the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of the column, and I used it. I said, okay, I started out that way. And I admitted that I stole the idea from you because it's just as easy to go that way as the other way at a time like this in May. So I think it gets tiresome sometimes that we just hammer people. Like right now, we're sitting in this whole thing with Jaden Rashada. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. I get it. And I'm beginning to think it's not going to have that much impact unless it blows up in court.
Well, we were talking about it the last 2 days. We had Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel on our show this morning. Edgar, I don't think quite knows yet which side he's coming on in terms of which way he thinks it's going to work out for Billy and the Gators.
Right.
I'm of the belief short term, buddy, it's kind of like I can call my favorite watering hole a dive and a dump. You can't. Okay, you can't. If I invite you, you come down to visit me and we go for drinks and I take you to my favorite place and, introduce you to the bartenders, and when you can't then badmouth the place. No. It's my place. No. You keep it to yourself. And I think this is how Gator fans are going to be about Billy Napier now coming under attack. They're like, hold on a second. We don't love this guy. I'll be brutally honest with you. We don't love him, but he's our guy. You leave our guy alone. I also think the fact that Rashada is now with Georgia is going to even get the what up from Gator fans even more.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of like okay, now you're a dog, and you're coming after us, and you're coming after our guy. Now, my co-host said that's great in May, June, July, and August, but if you lose August 31st to the Canes, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's
Okay,
true.
and he's
That's
probably right.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
probably right.
But there's that other side of the coin, as you said when you were giving me the Sunshine Pumpers version of the column. Hey, these are games you can win. Things can happen. There's nothing that
Sure.
there's no reason to think that you're going to get. Hey, look, first of all, it's the hardest schedule ever. You think it wasn't hard for Ray Graves in 1967 after he lost Steve Spurrier and had to go field a team and played 10 games, of which 16s or 17s were better than him? That's a hard schedule, too. So I know that in terms of the ratings and national level and all that, yeah, it's hard. But you said, and others have said, and I've agreed, there's some winnable games in that first six. And if you can steal one in the back half or two, you got yourself a season. Hey, what better way to make your bones than being a team that you weren't supposed to be like Ole Miss or whatever?
Well, the other thing is that, I mean, first off, their first 7 games are almost all winnable. It's the last 5 in which you know for a fact right now they're going to be underdogs in. But the first 7 games, they're either going to be favored in or a slight dog in, quite frankly. It's all the way up to the cocktail party. Florida can win most every one of those games. I mean, they just can with relatively good health. The last 5, we'll see. But the other thing is, buddy, listen, Billy hasn't signed enough guys for my liking, but the guys he's signing are good. He's gotten in the last, the Rashada story is going to get the biggest headlines and most talked about nationally. But, Gator fan knows in the last couple of weeks, guys who were committed to other big schools have decided instead, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm a 4 and 5 star guys. He's landed a couple of guys here in the last 2
Wide
weeks.
receiver, yeah. Man,
Who are
Bonnie McClain, the
players.
defensive back, 5-star.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think he needs 15 more of them. Okay. I think, but I will say he is upgrading the talent. They need good health though. They do. They're not nearly as deep as they want to be, but he is upgrading the talent. And not only that, he's probably got preseason a top 3 quarterback in the league. And that can be the difference between winning and losing the 1-score games. And, if the Gators can win a couple of those early games, everything can change. Confidence is a dangerous thing.
Yeah. What you don't want to happen is you don't want to see things go sideways with some silly mistakes. And this is summertime. I always say testosterone and beer don't often go well together. Things happen. Georgia's got it pretty well handed to them. Now the news today that Florida has a guy. It's the second guy got busted for drinking and driving too fast. Apparently 150 miles an hour. He spent 2 nights in Monroe County Jail. Slamming into another driver while fleeing Monroe County and 150 mile an hour with pot in his car on Saturday, May 18th. Okay, well, there you go. That's the first scholarship player and the second Gator player in the Napier this year that's gotten in trouble with the cops. Pretty good record overall, way below the average. That was one thing Billy had going for him is the comportment of his players in the off season. How much does this hurt the program? I don't know. We'll see if they can stop it, fix it, whatever. It's going to happen again other places. It's what it is, David.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's a pimple on the back of life, and thankfully, no one got hurt. This is the danger, though, of opening up with a really legit week 1 opponent. Okay, that there are coaches that make sure that they schedule the really legit non-conference opponent week 2 to give themselves the latitude where if they have to discipline some guys, they can do it week 1 when they're hosting a MAC school.
Yeah, Spurrier always said they'll play in Georgia the second week in South Carolina because they always had 4 or 5 guys suspended.
Right.
And they did. That's true. It happened. So we'll see where it goes from there. Something I want to talk to you about here. Hold on, I'm making my notes for a second. All right.
By the way, is the baseball team going to get an at-large bid?
Apparently
seem
so. There's what they're saying now. It looks like they
even
might.
after the first round loss.
And they have a winning record. The conference doesn't have much to do with it. I'm told their RPI and their schedule is very difficult.
Well,
And
number 2 schedule in the country, top
right,
30 RPI.
right,
Normally
right,
that gets you in, but man, a
right.
game above
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're closer to the bubble than people think, because they were out of the tournament by most college baseball people's prognostication
Yeah.
before the final weekend of the regular season when they won 2 out of 3 against Georgia.
For sure. Yeah. Good deal. All right. So, David, the Great American College Football Sunshine Pumper Society, are you in?
It's too long of a title. What's the acronym?
It isn't one. You figure it out.
No.
Give me an acronym.
Well, say it again.
Great American College Football Sunshine Pumper Society.
Hold on. Great
So
American
I haven't
College
gone that far.
Football Pumpers. Man, that's oof.
Well, next time we talk, you'll have a name for me, right?
It's 6 letters. It's only 1 vowel.
No, David.
You
I didn't
know,
ask you to critique my acronym, all right? I just asked you to join the organization.
I mean, it's like GACFUS or something.
Yes,
You
I
know,
like
it's
that.
just we need.
Works.
It's just
will work. That's fine. That's fine. All right, so you're going to sign off with this. Tell me what it looks like as we speak today. I know you don't like to talk about college football till you get to the winning and losing part. What are your thoughts about what Billy Napier's doing?
Well, buddy, I got to be honest. To me, there's no sense talking about coaches, players, or teams. The biggest story in college football is going on in the business world these next 10 weeks. I mean, the SEC voted tonight to approve the $2.8 billion. I mean, you got that, and then they're going to try to lobby Congress after the election to get certain laws changed to change the financial structure. I mean, but what they're trying to do now, this antitrust suit settlement, and then setting it up where there will be a revenue stream to share with the players. If they can get this passed,
$20 million a school, David. $20 million a school it could be.
Right. But if they can get it passed, but if they can get it to hold and not have anybody challenge it in court, which is a huge if right now.
Right.
But if this can pass and hold, then this will be huge, because now, buddy, we'll have a place that we can start doing business from. Right now, it's just, all over the place. There is no solid landing area. This would give us a home base to now start putting what college sports is going to look like for the next generation together. So forget, I'm sorry, I know a kid tore his Achilles in working out in the last week, but for the most part, buddy, nothing's going to happen for the next 70 days.
All about the money. It's all about the money, David. It's all about the money. You're right.
Well, it is, buddy.
I know.
I mean, unfortunately,
it's all about the money.
it sucks, but unfortunately, it's true.
Yeah. David Molton, the great David Molton, joins us every week. His partner was out this week. She'll be back next week. David and Allie Sweet and Sour. David, thank you so much as usual. Go ahead.
And for the record, I will not be here next week.
That's
I will
right.
be
You
traveling.
won't be here next week. Well, there you go.
I will see you in June.
In 2 weeks. See, don't say it like that. See you in June.
Well, I mean, it's May 22nd, right? I mean, we're not that far away.
Aren't you involved in the draft too?
First of all, I think all the drafts have come and gone. So at least I hope so.
Okay. All right. Take care. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. David Molton.
All right.
Take
care, everyone.
All right. On the line with us in just a moment, we got Kyle Curtis checking in with us. I'm going to tell you first about our sponsors here. I want to mention that we're very grateful for who we do have on this program. We mentioned earlier our friends at Meldon Law, who do a terrific job for us. Also, Renstar Medical Research. I want to tell you about them as well. In fact, let me just tell you about Renstar right now. Renstar Medical Research doing great things for our community. They're also very mindful of our health. They want to encourage you to take part in these clinical trials. They do them all the time, and they're getting research on information from us in our area to learn more about what our needs are medically, so that information can be sent off to companies to be able to tailor make some of these medications for us directly. So I encourage you to go to rinstar.net, look up the information. If you can qualify for some of these trials, they're very simple, easy to do. You can get money for time and travel compensation. Also, you'll be at study-related medications and be able to learn more about some of the things you're being studied for. So check them out. Rinstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers for the health questions of today. Back to the hotline. It's the peripatetic one. He's everywhere right now. Kyle Curtis, what's up, Kyle?
Hey, buddy, can you hear me well?
Not really well, but we can hear you. Go ahead.
Just a little better.
That's a little better, yeah. I wanted to get to you today because you've been following the Jaden Rashada story closely, and you wrote it last week. I wanted to get your take on how things are going up there and the response. And most people I've talked to don't think it'll have much impact on what happens on the field for Florida this year. What's your take?
Yeah, so obviously, I remember meeting with Brendan last year around this time, kind of when everything was starting to, go down with the NIL collective and everything like that. And, it's been kind of a foggy situation. And we kind of knew that there was going to be some sort of legal implications but we just really didn't know when. And then, obviously, Rashada ends up going to Arizona State last year, and no lawsuits or anything like that were made aware of. And then he transfers to Georgia, and before the season even starts is when he makes the sues Billy Napier, Hathcock, and other people among the ordeal. So kind of my take on the whole thing is it sounds like a big miscommunication of who said he said, and I'm obviously not a legal expert, but I would from what I've been reading and what lawyers have said who have looked into the situation, they've said that there'll probably be a settlement of some sort, and Florida probably won't have to pay that whole 13.85 or whatever the exact number was that they had initially allegedly promised Rashada, but it looks like that there will be a settlement to some degree.
All right, listen, I know you're not a lawyer, and I appreciate you coming on to talk about this. I just want to get a feel, since you are a former student at University of Florida. Congratulations on the graduation. I know you're connected to people around the campus still, your friends. I don't think most people, I've talked to a lot of them, this didn't shock a lot of people. It's the fact that named Billy might have been a bit of a surprise, but it doesn't appear to sound like it's going to be catastrophic. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, whenever the news came out, I feel like, people around the program who have covered the program, especially, journalists, kind of have been aware of the situation for a little while. But I would say probably students, especially probably that normal fans don't really probably know the extent of it. So whenever it became national news and our phones were buzzing that we were getting ESPN notifications, and then you have obviously a former recruit, associated with suing a head coach is, something that the sport of college football has never seen before. I was getting fired texts left and right. So I think that, more so the headline kind of made more of a ruckus than the actual event itself. But like you said, I think that I don't know if it's because there was momentum going with Napier in the transfer portal and Kirby Smart or people in the Georgia athletics kind of gave him a little nudge and was like, all right, now's the time to do it. I don't know. There's so many different ways to view kind of what's going on, but it definitely makes one of the most famous recruiting stories even adds a little bit more drama to it.
Yeah, final thing for you, Kyle. Thanks for joining us. I know you're driving home. The baseball team, is he going to make it in the tournament?
I think that being able to grab that series over Georgia to close out that regular season, and shout out to Colton Smith. He pitched that opening night for Georgia. He graduated with him at Forest. He pitched a phenomenal game. I think eight innings. Ocala guy. So he shut down the Gators at Friday night. But props to Sully to getting his guys to bounce back. Saturday and Sunday and being able to stay above 500. But I saw that we have the number 1 strength of schedule. We're number 23 RPI. There's a lot of noise on how many SEC teams are going to get into the tournament. But we have debatably the best player in the country. And if I was a regional host, I would definitely not want the Gators to sneak in as a 3 or 4 seed there. So I think that if we're able to get in, we'll be able to. We might be able to shock some people.
Great stuff from Kyle Curtis, buddy. Appreciate you. Read him online at GatorbaitMedia.com. Thank you, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Have a good rest of your night, buddy.
Thank you. All right, folks. There you have it from the horse's mouth, Kyle Curtis. I want to be sure and tell you about our friends at Titan MRI. Place you, if you don't know about, you should, especially if you're in need of an MRI. It's North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing facility. They want you to know that they're open, serving the greater Gainesville and North Central Florida area now, and they're focused on you, the patient, making a great customer service experience. They want you to know that they can tailor make your appointments for you. If you can't get there in the standard hours, need to come at night or weekends, whatever, they can make it available by appointment, evenings and weekends. So check them out. Their MRI equipment's modern, and the unit is one of the largest bores of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows more comfortable scanning and less potential for claustrophobia. TitanMRI.com. I want to thank you for listening and watching tonight. Thanks to our guests, of course, to Tony Barnhart. Don't forget his book right here, the 19 of Green. Also to David Molton and to Paul Finebaum, who we didn't get on tonight. Once again, we're going to try tomorrow night. We have an interview with him we will have for you. And also for Kyle Curtis. On behalf of them, I'm Buddy Martin. Wish you a good evening. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.